Nick's Sports Bar announcing that they're done. Yesterday, they announced they are closing for good. And at least one news story said they didn't say why. Well, I can tell you why. It's what I brought up earlier in the week. Are we looking at a bar apocalypse in the state of Texas and right here at home in Lubbock, with bars being shut down again and no timeline as to when they can reopen? And, of course, restaurants are back at 50% occupancy as well. And that hurts restaurants. I mean, don't forget that. That does hurt the restaurant industry as well. I know we've been focused on bars, but restaurants have also been taking a hit that they did not need during this time. Joining us on the phones to talk about this and what we're seeing happen in the state, State Representative Mayes Middleton, representing District 23 here in the state of Texas. Representative Middleton, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Great, Chad. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to have you back on the program. The governor's plans right now on where we are as far as reopening and reclosing and we it's like we'll take a few steps forward and then we'll take a few steps back. We're not hearing a lot other than maybe on Twitter from different representatives. I'd love to get your opinion on what we're seeing in the state. How do you think we're doing right now?
Well, we got to get every small business reopened as quickly as possible. I've got a district that covers Galveston Island, which has, a ton of bars and restaurants there. And look, these are mom and pop businesses. These are the backbone of our community. I mean, small business is the backbone of any community, and we got to protect people's rights to make a living and provide for their family. And, we've got the TABC threatening them with shutdowns and revoking their license to operate. And, I just talked to one the other day, the Spot on the seawall, and they had to lay off 51 people. And those are 51 people that they had just rehired. They were just getting back on their feet. So we got to get these reopened right now. I don't think that they'll survive this second shutdown. At least a lot of them won't. And that's what I've heard over and over is we don't know if we can make it through this one. And at the end of the day, we got to stand up for people's rights to make a living and feed their families.
I mean, do you agree with the governor's, order to close all bars? Or, the governor says he's worried about the spike that we're seeing in cases. If he were to, and I don't know if he has, if he were to reach out to you and say, hey, what do you think I should do? What would you tell the governor?
Well, I definitely do not agree that they should have been closed. I think that they should have stayed open. I think at the end of the day, it's about personal responsibility. People need to decide what's best for them. Obviously, we are having more cases, but like we always said, we need to protect the high risk while allowing people to go out there and make a living and provide for their family. And that's something we really have to protect because, look, I mean, when people can't make their car note, when people can't make their rent, when people can't make their mortgage note, this is a lot longer than just a temporary shutdown issue. Yeah. I mean, this is could be a permanent problem. So we can't turn this into something where our economy is permanently damaged. It's really not about that. It's about personal responsibility and people making decisions for themselves.
As I look at this, and I don't know how you feel about it, it's a one-size-fits-all plan where we're treating all bars the same and all parts of the state the same, when the vast majority of bars were probably in compliance and probably doing everything that they needed to do. I talked about one of the bars up here in Lubbock that announced they were closing yesterday. They by all accounts, they had not had any coronavirus cases tied to them. They were enforcing social distancing. They were doing everything that they should have been doing as a responsible business. They were doing everything that they should have been doing, and they were shut down. I mean, does this one-size-fits-all strategy, is it working?
Yeah, TABC is sadly the one enforcing this, and I think they're frankly a waste of taxpayer money. It's $57 million a year we spend on them. we should save that by getting rid of them. And occupational licensing is a whole different issue, so I strongly believe we need to clarify the law next session and make sure that no one's occupational license or license to operate can be fined, suspended, or revoked based solely on the violation of a disaster order, because that 30, 60-day shutdown or even having your license revoked, that's basically saying you don't have the right to make a living anymore, and that's wrong.
Yeah. Well, have you heard anything about a timeline for how long this this closure is going to last for?
I really don't know. I've been pretty strong in my opinion that today is the right day to reopen. We got to get these bars reopened now. I don't even drink. I'm standing up for bars, and I don't even drink, and I am because they're the small businesses in our community. They're the backbone of our community, and I see so many people, especially in my district, that really don't know where to turn next at this point.
Yeah. How much communication has there been from the governor's office or from the governor himself to state reps on this entire issue, on everything going on with coronavirus? Has it been enough?
We've typically had weekly phone calls, Texas Department of Emergency Management, which is really kind of spearheading a bunch of these programs and the crisis. We have a weekly phone call with them. But you're right. At the end of the day, each district is different. Every community is different, and we've got to rely on personal responsibility. I trust my fellow Texans to make their own decisions for themselves, and it goes straight into the $1,000 fine, for not wearing masks. Right? It's the same issue here where my county judge in Chambers County did it, $1,000 fine. Galveston County, on the other hand, did it right and said, we don't think we have the authority to do this, and it's wrong anyway to punish small businesses that are already struggling with a $1,000 fine. And not to mention, it's a terrible waste of law enforcement resources to have them go out there, sheriff's department or the police have to go hassle, small businesses and write them tickets, right? They have a lot more important things to do than do that.
Yeah. Visiting with State Representative Mayes Middleton here on the Chad Hasty Show. You sort of got into this earlier. How do you think the pandemic and the decisions being made by the governor's office right now and decisions being made by county judges, how do you think this is going to impact the upcoming legislative session? Are you guys, do you think you're going to be taking a look at, emergency powers and what a governor can and can't do, and when a governor can and can limit local decisions during an emergency? How is this going to shape the next legislative session, at least in your opinion?
I'll tell you, with emergency powers, I've got a district on the Gulf Coast, and I think what all of us really, in our minds, thought that disaster powers meant, it was responding to a natural disaster, right? Like a hurricane or a tornado or a wildfire, something that had an end to it, right? This thing almost seems to have no end. It's like, where's the limit here? Like our county judge in Chambers County keeps extending the $1,000 fine for the mask order. And, it's wrong. Our county party condemned that and said remove the fine immediately. It's wrong to do that to people right now. And second of all, a lot of these choices like that are false choices, where I've heard, we need to do the fine on the county level to avoid another shutdown. But then you have the Harris County judge say, well, even with doing the fine, I would shut down today. So clearly, we're not preventing another shutdown with the $1,000 no mask fine. That's a completely false choice. And I said, second of all, I think it's kind of ironic that all these counties are saying, well, the governor said that on the radio. Well, he also said limit property taxes. So I'm not really seeing, counties go out there and cut property taxes because he said they should on the radio. So it's interesting that they pick and choose what they want to follow, right? And it's generally not in our favor as taxpayers and for individual liberties. Well,
and it's something that I've just noticed. I can't remember which program I was watching. It may have been Dana Perino's show on Fox News yesterday at noon or so. But she had asked the question of an attorney, what powers do, whether it's a county judge or whoever, what powers do they have to force people to wear a mask? And his answer was, well, during an emergency, there's usually some, there's usually a lot of latitude given to county judges, to governors, to mayors, etc. But what you brought up was something that was very interesting, which was usually during these emergencies, there's a specific end to that emergency. A hurricane goes through, okay, the next 2 weeks, we're going to be in emergency mode or however long it takes. With this, we're almost living in an emergency mode until what, 2021?
We don't know. We really don't know. I mean, this is so open-ended because, I mean, with a natural disaster, you see what the damage is, and you can kind of make a good educated estimate on when you're going to recover from it, right? I mean, you can get that wrong, but you kind of can get a handle on that, right? You know when you're going to recover from it.
Yeah.
This is totally different. I mean, this is, how long is this crisis going to last? We don't know. We literally don't know, and we need to leave it to the voters to decide what's best in a lot of these situations. Like with the mask order, no one got to vote on that. The voters didn't get a say in that. Our constituents did not get a say in that. Small businesses did not get a say in that. And I'm not disagreeing with the mask order. I'm disagreeing with the fine, $1,000 fine. There's nothing wrong with saying everyone should wear a mask. We start to get in massive government overreach when you start fining small businesses or even individuals that are already hurting from a government shutdown with that $1,000. Because, look, at the end of the day, it was government-ordered shutdown that hurt small businesses. It was not the virus itself.
Are you one of the? Are you among some? I've seen on social media that there are some lawmakers who would love to have a special session right now and debate all of this and talk about the governor's powers and everything. Is that something you would like to see?
I think we should at this point. There's so much going on that I think the legislature needs to decide. Between contact tracing, which, I was against the statewide contact tracing contract, $300 million contract, to this, with the mask orders, all the way down to, some of the things that the TABC is doing. We're going to address them next session for sure and look at them, but, these are things that we were elected to do. There are 181 members of the legislature. And that's part of our job, to scrutinize all of this. And it's like with, when we passed the law many, many years ago to require seatbelts. Well, we had a committee testimony. It went through the House. It went through the Senate. It was signed by the governor. Everybody had a chance for input. Yeah. And, like in Chambers County with the mask fine, hardly anyone's had a chance for input. In fact, they won't even hold commissioners' court meetings in person anymore. They're still on Zoom. They won't even do it in person. So how do we really have a voice? How do taxpayers and voters have a voice when a lot of these entities aren't even meeting in person?
Yeah. State Representative Mayes Middleton, appreciate your time today, and we'll visit again soon.
I appreciate it, Chad. Thank you.
Thank you. That's State Representative representing District 23, Mayes Middleton, here on the Chad Hasty Show.